Hi Year 7. This is just a very quick video on how to make your three-dimensional 3D print that you're going to be sitting on top of your keyring that you've made out of Perspex. So let's just pretend that this is a keyring. Obviously your keyring is going to have 3 layers and a USB coming out of it. And we are going to need to put on the top of your shape of your actual key fob or USB key fob a 3D printed symbol or a design or a letter. So the object of this video is to actually show you how to do that. Now, a lot of you have been sending designs through to the printer that are the wrong size. So even though you've got videos on how to actually set up a grid that's the correct size, 80 by 80, you still don't seem to understand how to use that skill to create a symbol that's the right size. And we've been getting files that are 15 meters long or 2 millimeters wide. So obviously whatever you're going to place on top of your keyring as a 3D printed design will need to be smaller than the size of the top of your key fob. Otherwise, it's not going to fit. And it can't be too small, obviously, because when you try to print it, it's not going to print properly. So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to measure. A good old-fashioned way of doing it is get out a ruler and take a measurement. So I'm just going to quickly do that now and look, and the distance across is about 8 centimeters, and then I'll measure in the other direction as well. So it's about 7.5 by 8 centimeters. So I now need to decide what size will fit on there. So if I make a symbol that's about will fit inside a 6 by 6 centimeter box, it's going to be small enough to fit on the top of my key fob, but not so small that it's not going to print. So we're going to need a design that is 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters, which because we are using the architectural template in SketchUp, Google SketchUp, is going to need to be 60 by 60. So in the next video that I'm about to do, we're going to show you how to make sure that your design is not more than 60 by 60. But first step, measure, okay, so you don't make your design too big. Okay, so in this video we're going to just be showing you how to actually create your 3D print for the top of your key fob. And as previously stated, it needs to fit inside a 60 by 60 millimeter box in this particular instance, but you will need to measure your own key fob and make sure you are providing a file that is the correct size. Many of you have been sending through files that are like meters by meters or even kilometers by kilometers that will not print for obvious reasons, way too large or way too small. So the first thing you want to make sure you do is you make sure that you're actually in the correct file template. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go File, New. We're going to start a new design so you can actually see how we go about doing this. Now, to make sure you're actually in the correct template, you can click on SketchUp and go into Preferences. And just make sure when you click on Template that you've got a whole choice of templates here depending on what you are designing in SketchUp. Obviously, you're building a building and it was construction or architecture, you would select meters, but we're going to select the woodworking millimeters because millimeters is the most appropriate size we should be working at. So we click on woodworking millimeters and we are now in the correct template. So we know we're in the correct template now. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a square box. So we'll just drag out a rectangle, way too big. So we'll jump in this down the bottom right hand corner, delete the dimensions there and go 60, 60, which is 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters or 60 millimeters by 60 millimeters. And we're just going to go Enter. And obviously now we've got what looks like a very small box, but it's 60 by 60, which is the size we require. So what you can do is you can just click on here, and this is called the Zoom Extends tool. It'll get you out a lot of trouble. It'll always get you to a size that fits nicely on the screen. So whenever you get in trouble and the thing's not where you want it to be, click on this tool here, the Zoom Extends, and you usually find out you'll be where you want to be. So we need to fit our design inside this box. Now Mr. Titsos actually has a video up on Canvas of how to make a heart, But we're going to do that shape again. But obviously you can create whatever shapes you want with the draw tool, the arc tool, and this box tool. You can add shapes together. You can subtract lines you don't want with the rubber tool and do what you need to do. Now I'm going to go to camera, standard views, and we're going to work from the top for a little while and just make our life a bit easier. Now, as you can see, it's come off the screen, so I'm going to hit my zoom extends tool again, and like I said, that'll get me out of trouble. We're going to select this tool here, which is the line tool, and at the moment it's just on line. You can also get a freehand. We'll go on the line tool because it's more accurate. We'll just drag our thing across the top here, and as you can see, you get a little red box until you hit the center, and then it changes color and it lets you know you're at the midpoint. And I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag down, and you can see when you're off perpendicular, it goes black, but when you're perpendicular, it goes green. And when we get down the bottom, same deal. It'll let you know you're at the midpoint. Click, and you've got a line that divides your square box that's 60 by 60 millimeters exactly in half. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the arc tool, and this is the 2-point arc tool, and I'm going to click and make an arc. So click once on the center line, drag it across to the side, click again, and we can change the size of this arc. Now it's gone outside the box, and rather than spend ages trying to fix this, I'm just going to rub out what I've got here by using the rubber tool. Click on the line, it disappears, and I'm going to pick my 2-point arc tool again. You can always make sure you're in the right tool by, because there's a little arrow here, you can see that we've got the little tick next to 2-point arc. That's the one we want. So I'm going to just go, instead of clicking like here, I'm going to drag it down a little bit further, just give myself a little bit more room. And then I'm going to drag back across to the other side, click on here, and then drag this up until I'm happy with it. And that'll do. And then I'm going to grab my endpoint here, click on it once, and just drag down to here near the bottom. Click again, and then we can just drag that heart shape out, make a nice shape. And once we're happy with it, the arc of it, we click, and that's our half of a heart. Now, obviously, now we don't want all these other lines, so we can grab our ruler, and we're just going to get rid of these lines that we don't want. They're just confusing matters, and we don't need them anymore, because we know that our half of a heart is going to fit inside a 60 by 60 millimeter box, because we started in a 60 by 60 millimeter box. So we'll just go like this, get rid of the bits we don't want. And so now what we need to do is we grab our select tool again, we hold down, click, and we drag to select the whole thing. We know we've selected the whole thing now. And you can use shortcuts for sure, Control C, Control V, or on a Mac it's Command C, Command V for copy and paste. But I'm just going to go into Edit and go copy, but you can learn these shortcuts that are here if you want, but we're going to just do the easy way, copy, and then we're going to go edit, paste, and there is an exact copy of our half heart. But obviously we need to flip it. So what you can do to flip is you have to find the scale tool, which is in tools and scale, and we just drag this back across. Now, how do you know where to stop to get the size the same? I mean, you can eyeball it and get it roughly right. But what you need to do is you can look down here on the bottom right-hand side where it says red scale. When that number is -1, you have an exact half. So we would just put in -1 and hit enter, and it's the right size. Then what you can do is you can grab your move tool, and you need to join these two halves accurately together. And it's quite difficult sometimes, but if you grab this end point and just drag it across, you can drag it across until you join with the other end point. Now you can see end point again, and if you let go, you'll have them perfectly joined. So we have two shapes now joined together to create a heart. Now we don't need this line that's in the center, so what I'll do is I'll grab my rubber and I will just rub it out. Okay, so now we've got a two-dimensional heart, but obviously if you want to print this in 3 dimensions, we need to make it 3-dimensional. So you need to decide on the thickness for the base that you're going to put your initials on. So I'm going to set this at about, you can look at a ruler if you like and work out what a reasonable thickness is, but I would say 5 millimeters is a good thickness to have your 3-dimensional print. So I'm going to grab this push tool here, and I am just going to push until I get 5mm. And at the moment, I don't know what I've got here, but it says 8mm. So I'm going to jump in this box here and just go 5 and enter. So how do we know we've got a three-dimensional shape? Well, we can grab our rotation tool and we can just rotate our shape and just see whether it is actually three-dimensional. And as you can see here, we have a 5mm high heart shape. Now that's the base for our text. So now we need to work out how we're going to put text on this. Well, at the moment, I don't see any text tool up here, which could be a problem. But what you need to do is work out how we can get the larger tool set. So if we go Window here, we need to find out where the actual tool thing is. Now you'd think it would be in Tools or in Window, but it's not. It's actually in View. Okay, so if you go over to View, Tool Palettes, and go Large Tool Set, you get a whole lot of tools here that you can use. And the one that we want to be using is this text tool. So let's click on that. Let's have a look at this box that comes up when we click on that. You enter the text, obviously, where it says Enter Text. You have these two filled and extruded boxes ticked to get solid letters. That'll give you solid letters, okay? Don't worry about where we justify at the moment. Just leave it as it is, alignment with left. Now, with the font, if you click on it, it gives you all sorts of different fonts. I would suggest that when you select your actual letter, that if you selected Arial, for instance, bold is always a good option because it gives you a more solid letter. And the height of the letter is down here. Okay, so we've said 13 mil. So let's change that. Let's make it 12 mil. So let's go 12. Enter. 12mm. So 12mm high. Now that's the actual height of the letter from the bottom to the top of the letter, and then how much it sticks out from the actual heart is the height vertically. So we're going to make that. Let's make it. The whole thing was 5mm. So let's make the letters 3 mils high. So let's get rid of this and just go 3. Enter. So 3mm. And up here in the text, we're going to put in my initials. So I'm going to do that as capital letters, GSC, and place. And if you see here, we've got a letter. We need to put it onto the design. Now, if you're worried about whether that's placed correctly, you might want to just go up to your camera, standard view, and just do it from the top. And as you can see, that's not placed very well. So let's move it till we're happy with its positioning. And once we're happy with it, you can say, okay, let's have a look. Oh, no, we haven't placed it yet, so we've got to click. So get it on the design, click. I'm just going to try and get it to actually stick. Okay, so that's stuck down now. We thought it was stuck. Get it to stick. We can select another tool. Let's select, outside. And then what we need to do, Mr. Commonos is just making a complete mess of this now. We need to say to ourselves, okay, let's do a little bit of an orbit and make sure it all looks like it's right. Are the letters sitting on top of the design? They're not floating above it. Yep, that's all looking good. So we now have a three-dimensional design that we can print. We know it's the correct size. If you are ever uncertain of the size, you can also grab a tape measure, which is up here in the toolbar, and you can go from one side across to the other and just get an idea of roughly how wide. And it says down here in the bottom right-hand side, minus 55.6. So you can work out your size by doing that too. But if you start with the box the correct size, you will be okay. And then just go File, Save As. Now when you save your file, save it somewhere you know you're going to be able to find it. I'm just going to pop it on the desktop to make my life very easy. And I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to say, you need to say who's sending it to me, otherwise I won't know whose file it is. So I'm going to say Mr. Com's file. Okay, so I will know that that's my file. So I would like you to please give me your surname. That would be the easiest way. Okay, so Comlinos, and then send it to me. You would hit save, And once that's done, we're complete, and hopefully we've got a file that will print very nicely. Thank you very much. Okay, give that a try. Have a good play with the design, and that's what we are going to do to create our 3D printed symbol. Keep it simple, or not too complicated, because you want to really learn these skills. Okay, don't grab another person's design and try and adapt it to start with. Just get me a simple design to start with, so that you understand all the skills before you've always got to walk before you run, people. Thank you.